Well, right after this, in the next possession, we have what I would probably consider a makeup call. I know you consider that a four-letter word. So walk us through this because it's one of those college kind of charges that we see all the time. After Kawhi throws the ball, he knocks into Draymond way after the play. Frustrating for me. What's your feeling?
Yeah, I think the crew is trying to get block charges right. And even though this is a soft one, that it also has a flop attached to it by Draymond Green, no question, they decide to call it offensive foul. I mean, it is kind of a technical offensive foul, but it's also soft enough to be incidental in a way. So the flop went through. They called it the offensive foul. I can live with that if they can get offensive fouls consistent. So I think they're just trying to make sure that offensive fouls are seen and called as best as they can, even if it's 51-49. Let's call offense.
Okay, fair enough. I think that was not a great call, but let's move on to the fourth quarter because there's a lot happening in this quarter specifically. So we have a Quinn Cook fast break, beautiful pass. He's going to go lay it up. Nice block. I will not argue the block by Danny Green, but my question here is and it kind of goes back to the other one we talked about a second ago, was there's so much contact right on the release or after the release. I don't understand why that is. Does that not become part of it once it's blocked?
The question is the contact incidental or not? And there are actions in basketball where there are collisions sometimes that are legal situations. I can, take one, for example, when somebody sets a screen and the other guy doesn't know and he goes dead into it. I've seen officials say, this looks bad, I'm going to call offense because the player, most of these times the player is moving laterally or something. Well, there are some plays that just happen like that, and you got to let it go. I think this play is less egregious than the contact play that Ibaka did with Cousins. So my thinking on this play is let it go. And by the way, there is some consistency because the officials let the Ibaka Cousins contact play go. So on this play, a great jump, a great leap, a great block to the board, and contact, yes, but I think it was less than the other, but it's consistently done on both ends where they're allowing then players to use the athletic ability to make these unique blocks.
All right, fair enough. I mean, that's certainly reasonable to some degree. I just feel like those that frustrate me sometimes. But let's move on because we have another fast break for the Warriors. I think Draymond got lost in exactly what he wanted to do on this move. But again, we see the same thing we saw before where the ball hits the backboard. And I think you still got to give it a chance, even though it might not have really gone in. You got to give it a chance, right, before you hit it again?
Yeah, you got to give it a chance. Now, I'm sure that if we wanted to lawyer it up, we could say that the board hitting a board still have to have a chance to go in. And in this situation, I like where the official ends up. I mean, this is his play as he transitions. He's got to stop at the board, not at the end line. And he's got to, again, pick up the defender and then go get that ball. I think he would have got it, but it's a very, very tough play. And in this case, in most situations, I mean, Draymond's probably in there to make a layup. And this is not a toss-up. I hope I can get something out of it. He's close to where the ball can be scored. And now the thinking could be that they didn't think he could score that ball because there was a little bit of a loose ball, but he regathered it. Got his composure, and sent it to the board. But if someone sees it another way, I'm open to that.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it looks, right, because that's the key component. If it has a chance to go in, if it just hits the backboard going away from the rim, then you hit it, fine, no problem. But that one, I think you got to let him at least give him a chance to go in. It was so close, he was on a good angle. So this one referee seems to be struggling. He keeps getting stuck as the lead or as the guy right where the action's happening. Well, let's move on to another play because we have a attempted dunk attempt by McKinney, and they call a foul on the Ibaka. And do you think that this was a good call?
The bottom line is that this is a tough play because there's contact. But, tough basketball can be tough and not rough. And in this play, look at Ibaka go up beautifully vertically. As a matter of fact, he gets turned a little when the contact occurs. But he's been good all the way through it. This is a missed dunk. And as the guys continually see more and more plays, they will just say you missed the dunk, really strongly. You can't figure that play out if you look at anybody with the ball. forget the person with the ball. This is a clean play.
Without question. That was a beautiful example of a verticality, and they shouldn't have called it on him. But meanwhile, on the free throw, he misses the second one, and we get a tip by Andrew Bogut. They did not show us the right angle, looking straight down on the rim. I don't know why they didn't do that, but I think that this actually was a good call. I think the ball, part of the ball was probably still in the vertical plane of the cylinder. What do you think, Ronnie?
This was a good call, and good to see Andrew back in the league. I've been watching him because I work with the NBL of Australia. The ball is still in the cylinder, and guess what? It's above the rim. If it's above the rim and in the cylinder, you can't touch it. And now you take that same ball and put it on the rim, where more of it appears as if it's coming off. You can push it and flush it through if the ball has the rim as its base, but not when it's in the air. A ball with the rim as its base coming off and still part of it in the cylinder, yes, you can tap it in, flush it in, whatever have you.
Really?
Or, oh, yes. Oh, okay. Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So if the ball has the rim as its lower base, and it is now off the rim, meaning that it's beginning to go off of it, some of it may be left within the cylinder, but on that rim, then you can play with it. And you can knock it off defensively as well. So it's interesting, but that is a rule that's been around for about 15 years, 18 years already.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. So we got the craziness stuff happening now at the end of the game. The Raptors pretty much have control, but they're trying to come back, the Warriors. And Steph Curry, gets a beautiful steal, doesn't dribble it as he's gathering it. And so he still does have a dribble, but we've seen guys trying to do this in the past, and I don't think the referees tend to let him go. They let him have this sort of shot fake in the air dribble. What do you think, Ronnie? Is this legal?
Well, this is the old up and down. If you're playing in the park, the guy says up and down, my ball. What do you mean up and down? I mean, that's called traveling, man. It's up and down. So actually he goes up in the air, then drops the ball into a dribble. It's kind of cool. It looks like it should be good to do, but it ain't. And so that really is a double dribble or a travel, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just surprised our guys didn't react to it. I think they got kind of frozen in a moment, whoever was there, and maybe looked late and thought maybe his toe was down, and then when they caught up with it, weren't sure. But these are the kind of concentrations you need in games like that, and it makes us look like we're inept when we really aren't. But when you see something bold like that, hey, the supposedly best guys in the world can't let a play like that go.
Yeah, I agree. Well, not long after that, on the other side, we have Lowry going up against McKinney. And, Lowry is provocative with his movement as he shoots the ball, but on the replay, it just doesn't feel like there was much of anything there to call. So what do you think how this unfolded and why the referee blew his whistle?
Yeah, I think he recognized there was a little bit of a hand on the arm early on. So when he went into the shooting motion, the referee is saying to himself, oh, my God, no, I'm not giving you shooting motion. So he ends up going back to the floor and doesn't really calculate as well as he'd probably like to, or process as well as he'd like to, that the contact on the floor was really marginal. I think Lowry fooled him into a call. Great that he didn't give him the two-shot foul, but also a lure that got him to make a call when marginal contact was at best that situation at the time.
Well, we got to unpack a lot of things here in this next play. Kawhi Leonard has got McKinney kind of, maybe doing a little horseback ride on him. Then we have a possible travel by Kawhi before he releases the ball. Then we have a Fred VanVleet shot, and there's certainly some contact on the shot too. So I guess let's start with the beginning here. Is there a foul on McKinney in the beginning?
I'm not big on the foul on McKinney. I think, when players, you really got to have something overt. Now, remember, we're looking obvious. I don't want to say overt. We want something obvious. We've got Leonard going into the web. I mean, every player, I used to tell players sometimes, don't expect me to bail you out when you're going to dribble into a double team. I mean, it's harder for me to see all of this stuff. So he goes and does that, and he does it incredibly well because upon losing the ball, he gathers it. Now, I have to tell you, when I first saw it, I could have sworn it was an up and down or travel because he got the ball, went to pass it or got it and gathered it and then went into the air, came back down and then passed it.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody, I saw the hands of the rotation of the wrist from the fans, and it really looked like that. But I got to tell you something. The officials held strong because as I looked at it again, he gathered with his 1 foot went into the air for 1-2 and then passed it. So he actually did a legitimate play, and he was going backwards, which made it really look more difficult to believe he did it correctly. And he did, but it took me a moment to really look at it. And without the best camera angle they had on the review, it was a legal play. So I want to make sure I slowed it down. I saw it, and I said, you know what? This is a legal play. No one would ever believe it that he did it legally and got away.
But he lands. He's in the air, both feet in the air, and then he lands before he releases the ball. Like I still can't follow how you think that was legal.
Well, when he gathered, he launched. He gathered. Don't forget, when you gather, you can launch. You got 2 steps coming. They're the most ridiculous steps I've seen in a while, but they're legit.
I see what you're doing. Okay, wow.
So he goes backwards on the step number 1.
The old crab dribble. Okay, all right. I can follow. Now I can follow you. I don't know if I agree, but at least I can follow where you're coming from. All right, fine.
And I'm open to others looking at it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I can see it's a provocative 1-2 instead of a jump. Yeah. Okay, maybe. Okay, well let's get to the Fred VanVleet shot.
I would have swore it traveled as well.
Okay, so the Fred VanVleet shot, there is, you can see pretty clear contact. I mean, it's after the release, but certainly, in the landing zone, whatever you want to call that, that was not called. The ball goes in on a crazy arc. What do you think about this? Mark Davis had a great view of it, didn't want to call it. What, is it the correct call? Correct no call?
You know what? I really believe that just for Mark Davis looking at that play, players that accentuate on offense a form of I've been hit, take away from the opportunity to actually show they have been hit. So there's a bump to the hip. There's no question about that. But you know what? It's not a very obvious bump. And secondly, VanVleet kind of emphasizes and provokes it to look more than what it is. He goes to the ground. And, by the way, Steph Curry did the same thing with the Ibaka play. And both those plays were really slim to none on the contacts. So I'm glad he let it go. And he had a bird's eye view of it. He may have seen it even better than we've seen it on the television. I would say to you, there's a bump there, but not enough. But you can't continue to try to fool the ref because you're going to end up not getting the success you're looking for. Look what happened to Klay Thompson on spreading his legs, a la Reggie Miller.
Yep.
He's actually hurt. A lot of guys are going to see that and think about it next time about doing that.
Fair enough. Oh, again, similar kind of contact and legit contact on him on that one too. But Ronnie, this was a marathon. Thank you for walking me through all of these clips. There's probably even more people are upset about, but we have, we are only 2 people. So thank you so much for coming on here and breaking it down. And, I kind of hope that at least maybe we get a break for Game 4. What do you think?
You know what? This is going to be exciting all the way through. And because there are unique plays happening, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of scratching and clawing early in this series. You know why? The ball's not going in the hoop as easy. And people are tired. It's that time of the season. The key players are tired. They're struggling. So you're going to see a lot of little things for people to shore up and do the best they can for win. These are winning basketball programs, and I think it's going to continue. And we're going to see plays that are going to be naturally missed and some of those that shouldn't be missed.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on and breaking it down for us. And thank you, everybody out there, for joining us for this great episode of Court Call with Ronnie Nunn. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBallBreakdown, not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Ronnie?
Hey, Coach Nick, you know I'm in. Thank you.